follow job creation. So next year or next cycle, they will vote to the government party again. The government party will do the same thing. Generate the jobs, get re-elected, and deal with inflation later. So that is the classical political business cycle theory. Now there's a partisan theory. The partisan theory assumes that parties are ideological. They are left-wing parties and they are right-wing parties. But the voters are not quite rational in the sense that they do not take a particular calculation about the trade-off between inflation and job creation. They would like to have jobs, but they do not recognize the negative effects of overemployment that results in high inflation. So under this theory, the left-wing party considers itself the friend, the protector of the working class, generating jobs, keeping people employed. And the right-wing party would normally consider itself the ally and defender of investors, ensuring the value of investment, meaning keeping the inflation low. So we have one party that tries to generate the economy or regenerate the economy, and the other party that tries to keep the inflation low. Now we also have a rational party theory, and here we assume voters are rational and parties are ideological. So still there are left-wing parties and right-wing parties, and voters are rational in the sense that they take inflation in consideration when they decide which party to support. So under this scenario, left-wing party supporters will still support left-wing parties. However, when inflation becomes rampant, they will change their position and demand the governing party, the left-wing party, they voted to make certain adjustments so that inflation will be curtailed. So they have some opportunity to make rational decisions in their influence on the governing party that they voted. And for the right-wing party, the same scenario. And finally, under rational political business theory, voters are considered rational, but parties are considered non-ideological. In this scenario, the party does not necessarily take a position on inflation or unemployment from an ideological stance. However, they are in a position to control information access and timing of information sharing, as well as agenda setting. Even though voters are considered rational, however, their rationality is bounded, is confined, is circumscribed by what politicians can do through agenda setting, the control of access to information, and the timing of information sharing, and allocation of attention to issues. So these are the four scenarios, or four submodels under the rubric of political business cycle theory. Okay. I just mentioned that those models have not been applied to China for a reason. That is, there has been no transfer of governing party in China since 1949. And there are no effective opposition parties in China in partisan politics competing with the governing party, which is the Communist Party of China. And there's no electoral politics. Well, there were some elections at the village level, even at the township level, but that is not the same as elections as we understand or understood in the West. However, with all that said, in the recent years, during the past 3 decades, there have been 3 political leaders in China. Why should we focus on the past 3 decades rather than all those years since 1949? Well, there's one operational issue. The political or economic landscape in China may be considered to a pendulum. The pendulum swings from right to left, from politics centric agenda to economic dominant agenda. And in my other paper, I analyze this swing between political agendas and economic agendas, largely determined by international situations, the personal mindset of Chinese political leaders, and the circumstances of the country. Right now, since 1978, the pendulum has been anchored on the side of economics. Before that time, it had been anchored on the side of politics. And that's a very interesting phenomenon. If you look at the government capacity in China, when the national agenda is politics, you will see a high level of government capacity as indexed through political mobilization in the country. When the pendulum is on the side of economic issues, then the government capacity is lower. And it's lowered not as a consequence, but to my mind, to my thinking, actually, it was the start. Because of the requirement of market conditions based on incentives, the government has to decrease its political capacity. And because of that, the government lowers its control and decreases its use of political levers, and gives the marketplace more freedom, gives the local governments more authority, evolution. So in order to focus on the relationship between the economic phenomena and the political cyclical events, the data for this paper were confined to the period of 1978 up to now. And for that period of time, we had 3 leaders, Feng, Jiang Zemin, and the current leader, Hu Jintao. You may notice that for the Deng period, it lasted between 1978 and 1997, even though Deng resigned or retired, to be exact, from his leadership position in the year 1989. That is the year Jiang Zemin became the party secretary and the nominal chief executive of the country. But Deng still had control over military, political, and economic decisions. And he died in 1997. And for that reason, the segment of time between 78 and 97 was considered the Deng era. And under Jiang Zemin assumed effective leadership in the year 1997, and he retired in the year 2002. And the current leader started as party secretary in the year 2002 up to now. So these are the 3 periods. And the question we could ask is, are there any changes for this period of 3 decades that are the result of political changes, the passing away of a leader, the retirement of another? Do economic growth, unemployment, inflation respond to leadership changes? So that's a question we could ask. Another question we could ask is, we know one major cycle of political events in China is the convening of the party congress. the party convenes every 5 years.